So I, 22 female, am dating Greg, 25 male. His mom is Lisa, 70. Last month we attended a funeral for a family member of Greg and Lisa. After the service, everyone was mingling in the fellowship hall and eating, and Lisa stepped out for a smoke break. I saw her get into the back seat of the car through one of the open church windows while lighting her cigarette. Then she started rummaging in the large bag that I brought along. I didn't think anything of it, as I brought the bag to carry any extra things anybody needed, including lighters. I thought that's what she was fishing for. I went back to socializing and supporting Greg. Something relevant that I forgot at the time was that I'd left my wallet in that bag. Anyway, I stopped by the gas station 2 days later for some gas and realized I was missing my card from my wallet. I used Apple Pay to get my gas, so I went home and started searching. I also called Greg, who was at his parents' home, and asked if he could search there and see if I'd misplaced it somehow. I only take it out of my wallet if I'm using it and then put it right back in, but I thought that maybe I was shuffling things in my wallet, put it down and forgot about it. I didn't find my card, Greg didn't find it, and I decided to give it one more day before I cancelled it because maybe it would just pop up. I'd also not noticed any transactions through my bank app that weren't from me. The next day, Greg texted me saying he found my car on top of the washer. He said he didn't know how he missed it, but it was there waiting for him when he went to do some laundry. I told him I'd get it from him in a couple of days when he came back to our apartment. The next day was payday. I checked my account to see what I'd made, and I noticed a withdrawal for an Amazon order, $350 directly below the direct deposit. I haven't placed an order for anything from Amazon in weeks, and checking on my account confirmed that. I asked Greg if he'd use my account to make a purchase, and he said no, of course not. He would never do so without asking. I cancelled the card and reported potential fraud, but then it was discovered that Lisa had used my card for the purchase because she couldn't find hers. She said she would pay me back soon and that she really needed it. I don't know what she bought, but I don't care, considering she stole my card. She also apparently has a history of gambling and stealing. She's taken money from Greg before, and a driving factor of her divorce from Greg's father was that she stole most of his savings while they were separated. He's never recovered the money, but it was almost $500,000. I decided I would involve the cops, and now Lisa is furious and saying I'm being a brat and a lot of other insults, and that I could have just waited for her to pay me back, even though she also has a reputation for not paying people. Am I the idiot for pressing charges against my boyfriend's mom? Edit, no, Lisa didn't have Greg at 45. She and her now ex-husband adopted him as an infant. And no, Greg was not in on it. He did tell me about her stealing and gambling problem. He's on my side. Let me make sure you understand, all love, but she snuck out in the middle of a funeral, put her hands in your bag in order to, on purpose, find your bank card, then consciously, definitely thought about it, typed your card numbers into Amazon and hit buy. For how much? $350. It's on principle that I would involve the police. You're not wrong at all, and for all of this, Greg can tell his mother she's not welcome at your apartment. It's a problem. Get some Ring cameras. Sorry, I work hard for all of my stuff. OP, she stole from you, then tried to turn it around and make you the bad guy? No, thank you. You did the right thing by involving the police. She broke the law and your trust. She should get charged for her actions. Don't back down here. Greg sounds a bit willfully ignorant for not putting two and two together. A card went missing, and he should have immediately suspected his mother. You know how cheaters howl to the moon when they're caught? Thieves are worse, especially family members. There is nothing they don't believe should be theirs. They know you want to trust them and they prey on that instinct. Absolutely despicable. I feel sorry for Greg. Believe me, she stole your card so coolly and casually that it wasn't her first time. Of course she's going to lash out because she got caught with her pants down. My husband and I travelled to Mexico to visit my family. I'm an American citizen, but my mom and dad are not. My mom and dad got my daughter earrings for her birthday. My daughter's ears are not pierced and she's only 1 year old. I told them that I would save them for her until she was old enough to get her ears pierced. We left my daughter with my parents while we met up with some friends. When we went to pick up my daughter, my mom showed us that we didn't need to wait because they'd taken her to get her ears pierced. I got my daughter and I dragged my husband out of there before he lost his crap. We went back to our hotel. I am furious. My husband said that my parents are not allowed to spend time alone with my daughter ever again. I went farther. I said I would not be bringing her or any other kids we might have down here to see my parents. We checked out 3 days early and went home. On the way home, my parents called me to see when we were coming over. I ignored all the calls and texts until we returned to Phoenix. We took a couple of days to think things over and cool down. I finally called them. I asked them not to speak until I was done talking. I told them that my husband and I were upset for them getting our baby's ears pierced without our permission. I told them that we went back home and probably wouldn't be visiting for a while. They said that my sister and I both had pierced ears when we were babies and that it didn't harm us. I said that we were not going to change our minds. They started getting everyone, including my grandmother, to call me and say I was being ridiculous. I talked with my husband and we came up with a compromise. We agreed that we would resume visits but not alone time with them if they both got their noses pierced. They said that we were being stupid and that they weren't going to do that. I said no problem and hung up. We've started blocking anyone who tries to call us and give us crap for denying my parents their right to see my daughter. Am I the idiot? Edit, the earrings are out but her ears are infected. They're scabby and have pus. She's on antibiotics. That's awesome for a baby. Not the idiot. I read your ultimatum as more tongue-in-cheek, not that you're actually expecting them to get their noses pierced, but that you're simply enforcing a no-contact boundary, knowing that they're obviously not getting themselves pierced. That's fine and fair. What they did was wrong on so many levels, and since they refused to apologize or take accountability for their colossal lapse of judgment, I think going no contact is appropriate. I'd hold firm to the nose-piercing ultimatum, then if they actually did it, still stay no contact. I'm amazed they found a piercer willing to do it without legal guardian consent, but I guess this was in Mexico, so they wouldn't have the same laws for tattoo and piercing shops. This would be illegal in the US unless they found someone to backdoor do the piercing without legal approval. OP's parents are giving banana cookie vibes. Well, the baby's ears are infected, so clearly it wasn't done correctly. Stick to your guns, OP. If your parents would rather be right than have you in their life, then they aren't the kinds of people you want as role models for your kids anyway. All the kids know I'm willing to pay for college if they do 3 things. They must either get A's or B's, not get in trouble with the school, underage drinking, cheating and so on, and finally do something in their free time that can go on their resume. That can be volunteering, getting a job or running for a school board position. Overall, these should be easy to accomplish if they take school seriously. They all know that if one of these rules is broken, I will not pay for their next semester. If they continue to mess up, I will not pay at all and they need to get loans. So my daughter is a freshman and her first semester was paid for. In her first semester, she didn't hit the grade requirement. She got mostly C's, which shouldn't happen at all. I informed her that I wouldn't be paying for her second semester and that we would revisit paying for her third semester depending on how she does in her second semester. She's on spring break and we argued about making her go into debt. She said I was an idiot since I could pay, but I was not. I'm questioning myself. Am I the idiot for sticking with not paying for the semester due to my child's college grades last semester? You are the idiot. This is so controlling. Your freshman daughter didn't get all A's in her first semester adjusting to a new life with new surroundings, people and expectations. You can decide if you want to support your child's education or not, but forcing debt on her future just because she didn't do things exactly your way seems harsh. You've got to let this iron grip go and show a tiny bit of empathy for the massive adjustment your child is going through right now instead of being so punitive. Info: have you asked your daughter about her grades? Does she like the school? Was she struggling? How adequately did her high school prepare her? Or was she out partying and blowing off work? There's a big difference. I took college seriously. I'm also not a stupid person. But I also realized my high school didn't even remotely prepare me for the type of writing and analysis that my college classes required, and I really struggled my first year. I graduated with honors in 3 years with an accounting degree. In my first semester, I got 2 C's. Thank God my mother had more faith in me. Getting college paid for is a privilege, not a right. Good job teaching her to be responsible for her own future. You are not the idiot. I myself am a college student and my parents have somewhat the same rules for me. As long as you told your children the rules beforehand, I do not see a problem. It was her fault for not getting the grades that you told them to get, and because of that, there are consequences. Keep to your word because the second you end up going back on it, that's when they will take advantage of you. I, 40 male, have a son Joe, teen. We live together alone. His mother isn't in the picture. I've done my best as a single parent since she disappeared on us when Joe was 4. My son has always been my best friend. I'll admit that I'm not very good at taking an authoritative role. He hasn't ever given me much reason to. He's always been the kind of kid who just needed a guiding hand in the right direction. He's intelligent, level-headed, and generally a very caring person. Since they met in freshman year, Joe has been dating a wonderful girl named Emma, teen, for the better part of 2 years. She's nice and respectful, and they seem to get along well. About 2 weeks ago, they were spending time in the living room and got into a pretty heated argument. Emma came to me and asked me for a ride home. I let Joe know and asked if he was okay. He said he's a bit frustrated and maybe some space would be a good idea. After a quiet drive to her home, she thanked me and I returned home. I asked Joe what happened. He explained the situation, not going to put the business out there, just a common argument in couples, and he said he would talk to her once he had a more level head. Everything sounded reasonable. 3 days ago, Joe told me he had a friend coming over. I said no problem and just let me know if he needs anything. I was exhausted from overtime and knocked out for a bit. I wake up and I hear a woman's voice downstairs. I come downstairs to Joe, who's kissing an unfamiliar girl. I asked Joe if he could help me with something quickly. He says sure, and we head to the garage. I close the door and ask who that is. Joe says she's just a friend. I ask what's going on with Emma. He responds, well, maybe this will get her to pull her head out of her butt. I said, all right, that's not how I raised you. You know what you're doing is wrong. I explained, if you don't tell Emma, I will. This didn't seem to register with him. He shrugged me off and walked off to spend time with his friend. I called Emma's father and let him know what's going on. Joe is then on the phone getting into an argument. Emma breaks up with him and he approaches me and gets mad at me. I tell him to accept responsibility, but he refuses. I yell at him to pack his stuff and that until he can learn he owes Emma an apology and accept responsibility, he will be staying with his aunt. I took his car keys and my sister picked him up, but he left angry. It's been 3 days and my sister tells me he's still angry and Joe refuses to reach out to me. I spoke to my friend about the situation and he told me I should have let it be. Joe knows I don't condone cheating, but maybe my buddy is right. Am I the idiot? You overreacted. At that age, your kid should never have his or her home taken away. Your kid is a teen and won't settle down with Emma. I totally agree with the argument that calling Emma's dad and setting some sort of punishment for that behavior is necessary. What that punishment should be, I don't know. That's the hard part about parenting. Everyone's the idiot here, but you most of all for forcing your kid to stay elsewhere. The punishment outweighs the crime. You are the idiot. You're not a part of his relationship. You shouldn't be so invested in your kid's high school drama. You're a parent, not a sibling or friend. Parent your child. Good parents don't kick their kids out for non-legal issues in their romantic lives. How the heck are you 40 and just as immature as some high school sophomores? Go talk to him now, tell him you were out of line and apologize for overreacting. Then talk more about how to treat women later on down the line. Oh good God, does any girl want to hear from a boyfriend's father that he's seeing another girl? You were so out of line involving her father in this. It's none of your business. This is for your son to navigate, ideally with calm, fatherly guidance. You overreacted enormously. I'd be surprised if this doesn't end up in your son distancing himself from you and not trusting you anymore. You owe him an apology. He doesn't owe you anything here. I suspect you're projecting whatever happened with his mother onto the situation. Update. Thanks everyone for the reality check. While my son knows my feelings about cheating very explicitly so, telling him to leave to live with my sister was in fact a poor choice. I shouldn't have reacted that way. This is his home and always will be. I just got off the phone with my son and he apologized for crossing a line I had drawn in the sand, by his words. I apologized to him and said that while I don't condone cheating, I shouldn't have made him feel like his home is something that can be taken away from him. I expressed that no matter what stage of life, he will always have a place to land on his feet here in our home. I told him I wouldn't further interfere in his relationships. However, if he chooses to do the wrong thing, do not do it in our home. We had a long conversation and I think we now better understand each other's boundaries and roles. My son will remain my best friend. There's no one else I'd rather fish with or spend the afternoon talking to. That's not going to change. His friend was unaware he was in a relationship. She's giving him crap for using her and he did apologize to Emma, but she's obviously very upset and we'll see how things turn out there. Joe understands that what he did was wrong and is obviously upset, facing the consequences of his actions. I will give some background. I'm a pretty young grandmother. My daughter Jenny has 2 kids, a tween and a young teen. My daughter remarried a man who has his own children. So I have step-grandkids, both tweens, so a total of 4 kids in this story. I will refer to them as bio and step-grandkids to make it as clear as possible. The bio and step-grandkids don't get along well. Watching from the outside, it's easy to see that the 2 parents are pushing them together. I've heard so many complaints and informed the parents that the forced bonding wasn't helping. They didn't take my advice. Overall, all the kids had to do everything together. I've been teaching my bio grandkids how to sew for a while. Every year we make a blanket over a few months. The 2 kids love it and I enjoy the tradition. I informed the bio kids that we'll start the project soon. They seemed excited. I got a call from my daughter asking me to include the step-grandkid. The bio grandkids were talking about the blanket and it made the other grandkids upset they weren't invited. So now my daughter called me to include them. I told her no. This is just something I do with my bio grandkid. We've done this for years and I'm not changing it. I also informed her that forcing them into the tradition would not help the kids. They already dislike their step-siblings. She called me a jerk and according to my other daughter it's caused issues in her family. Oof. Once again, I am enormously grateful my step-grandparents accepted 12-year-old me and made me feel welcome. My feeling from how you phrased it is that you are the idiot. Your feeling of only wanting the bio grandkids are your feelings. Still, if you phrased it the same way to all of them, that is likely to make it harder for everyone to reach a point of being more comfortable. She's not the idiot, you're biased in your opinion. She's trying to keep one thing the same for her bio grandkids. It's not her responsibility to do the same for the steps when she can clearly see that pushing them together isn't helping anyone. You have no idea if she does other things with them. It's just this specific thing she wants to have with her bios, and she's completely allowed that. I had step-siblings, and my gran always still had one-on-one with me. Biased in your opinion, bro, this isn't court. All of our opinions are biased. Who's to say yours is more correct than theirs? Entitled much? OP, they're all your grandkids now. I could not imagine looking into the face of a child and telling them, nope, you ain't blood, this isn't for you. Oh, and I'm a pretty young grandmother. You've a misspelling there. It should be, I am a petty young grandmother.